Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Learning Ladder. I hope you all are doing well. So, in today's video, we'll be studying about the Global Report on Internal Displacements, which is published by the Internal Displacements Managing Committee, that is IDMC. So today we'll be talking about what exactly is internal displacement, key highlights of the report published by IDMC. Then we'll be talking about United Statements, which is the highest disaster displacement country in 2024. We'll be talking about our country's situation, which is India's situation, and some key trends and insights from the grid 2025. We'll be also talking about the committee IDMC and the final messages from the report. So yeah, let's get started. First, let's talk about what exactly is internal displacement. So internal displacement or internally displaced persons are the people who are forced to leave their homes within their own country due to two reasons. First is disaster like flood हो गया या फिर earthquake, and the second reason is conflict or violence. So people who are displacing from their homes but within their own countries, which means that for example a person is resides in the country A, right, and there that country has a major war going on, so that person will not go to country B, will not go to a different country altogether, but will reside in their own country only, but they leave their home, right? So internally displaced persons are the people who are forced to leave their homes within their own country due to two reasons. First is disaster, right, like floods, wildfires or earthquakes, or conflicts or violence like wars, ethnic violence, right? They do not cross international borders, which mean they do not go to different countries, but they stay within their countries, but they displace from their homes. Now let's talk about the key highlights of this 2025 report. This report actually shows record breaking displacements that took place. 83.4 million people were displaced within their own countries by the end of 2024, which is actually the highest ever. And out of these 83.4 million, 73.5 million were displaced due to conflict or violence like wars, right, ethical violence, etc. And 9.8 million due to natural disasters like earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. Now disaster driven displacement, which means it's a big surge, it's a big problem, right? Disaster driven displacements means due to natural disasters. So displacements due to natural disasters are actually a very big concern. 45.8 million people were newly displaced in the year 2024 due to disasters, which is almost the double, right, which was recorded the normally yearly average. And the reasons, obviously, wildfires, floods, storms, etc. The country that is at the first position of the highest disaster displacement in the year 2024 was US, United States. 11 million people were displaced due to disasters, which is actually the highest for any country. And these displacements were caused by wildfires and hurricanes, etc. For example, you may have heard of Park Fire in California, which displaced almost 66,000 of people, and US actually alone accounts for 25% of all disaster displacements globally. If we talk about our own country's situation, that is India's situation, 5.43 million disaster displacements took place in 2024, which is actually the highest for India for over a decade. And the biggest trigger, the biggest problem that was seen was in severe floods that took place in Assam, which led to 2.5 million people being evacuated. 1,700 people were displaced by conflict due to the ethnic violence that you may have heard in Manipur that is going on, right? And there are a lot of people who are displaced at the year end as well. The key issue actually that is there in India is that India does not have a dedicated national law to protect the internal displacement persons. Most is a very short term relief that is given. Like for example, if there are severe floods and people are displacing a lot, India does not have a specified dedicated law to protect those people. Only short term relief programs are launched, that there's no dedicated law for that, right? So that's a main concern that is there in India's situation. There are few key trends and insights as well from the GRID 2025, which is Global Report on Internal Displacements 2025, right? what it says is that repeat displacements is common, which means that in places like Gaza, Sudan, Congo, where wars are going on right now, people are displaced multiple times in a single year, which means they do not have to displace at once, like one time. They are displaced multiple times in a single year. For example, they went from like they reside in country A, so they went from one position, then they went to another position, so they went more than one time, they displaced more than one times in a single year, right? Also, a very major problem that poses is that if a country faces conflict and climate related problems at once, it proves to be a double threat, right? 7 out of 10 worst affected countries faced both war and climate disasters, which is the worst combination that ever a country has experienced, right? Then urban areas are always a hotspots. Over 60% of displacements happens in cities due to overcrowding and poor infrastructure, and because most of the damage also is caused in cities as well, right? So most of the displacements also take place in the cities, and only 38% of aid needed for displaced person was actually funded, which means that the aid, the money that is being there for the displaced person, out of the whole 100%, only 38% of aid was there, and only 38% of people were actually given the aid, the money and all the resources. So that is also a very important thing. It is a funding shortfall, right? If we talk about the Internal Displacements Managing Committee, which is IDMC, it was founded in the year 1998 after the Balkan crisis. Now, you must be heard about the Balkan crisis, right? If you are not aware of this, you can read it. About the Balkan crisis and how IDMC was formed after that, and it is a part of the Norwegian Refugee Council. This IDMC is a part of the Norwegian Refugee Council. It is based in Geneva, Switzerland, which means it has its headquarters in Switzerland, Geneva, and most of the organizations you may be noticing has its headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. So please name one organization or one UN organ that has its headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland in the comment section, right? And IDMC publishes the global report on internal displacements annually in May. So 1 year में एक बारी मई में ये publish करते हैं एक report called a global report on internal displacements, which has all the statistics, all the information related to the global report, the internal displacements happening in different countries. If we talk about the final message from the report that is being taken, so solving displacements isn't just about relief camps. Like if you'll solve displacements, you'll just add relief camps, you'll just provide relief camps. That is not the only thing that you should do to solve displacements. There should be peace building, there should be advocate climate action taking care, right? There should be urban planning, and social protection should also be a part of it. And most importantly, there should be dedicated law made to face the internal displacements that take place in our country. So there should be long-term national policies, most importantly. Right? So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys learned a lot about the global report on internal displacements, and if you have any questions, you can write them down in the comments and I'll try my best to answer each one of them. That's it. Thank you.